All right, so the last section of chapter 8, 8.4, talks about equations in a Cartesian coordinate system. So basically, we're going to be talking about points, lines, things of that nature, okay? So this first problem here is a very straightforward problem. It just says, plot the points on the graph and then state which quadrant each point is in or on which axis each point lies. Okay, so you know that we have the x-axis, right? And we got the y-axis. And then we have quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, right? And when we plot our points, every point's always in the form x and y, where the first number tells me to go either left or right, and the second number tells me to go either up or down. And so my first point A is a point 2, 3, so I'm always going to start here in the middle, and then I'm going to go to the right 2 and up 3, and there's my point A. My point B is negative 3, 5, so I'm going to go to the left 3 and up 5. And C is a point 2, negative 4, so I'm going to go to the right 2, and then let me just kind of scroll down a little bit. There we go. To the right 2 and then down to negative 4, so there's my point C. D as in dog is negative 3, negative 1, so to the left 3 and down 1. The point E is the point 0 and 2, which is stay in the middle and then go up 2. And then F is the point negative 4, 0, which is just go to the left 4, okay? And then, so we'll say, look at A. A is going to be in quadrant 1. B will be in quadrant 2. C is in quadrant 4. D is in quadrant 3. The point E is on the y-axis, and the point F is on the x-axis, right? Okay. All right, so horizontal and vertical lines. Okay, so horizontal lines, guys, are always going to be in the form y equals just some number, okay? Just going to be y equals some number. So in this case, it's asking us to, and horizontal lines, by the way, I'm sorry, go left and right like the horizon, right? Like, so if we were all to go to the beach and we would look out at the horizon, we'd be able to see the sunset, whatever it is going to be, right? So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to when y equals 5. So if I do this, all I have here is a point. And if you were to think about the coordinates of that point, the coordinates of this point would be the point 0 and 5, right? Okay. And from this point here, I could either move to the left or I could move to the right. So suppose I move to the right. I'm just making this up, okay? I'm just going to the right a couple of spaces. And if I were to ask you, what are the coordinates of that point? We would say, well, the coordinates of that point would have been 3, 5. What happens if I were to move to the left? Suppose I were to move to the left 2 spaces. Then we would have said the coordinates of this point would have been negative 2, 5. But if you notice, in each case, the y number was always 5, and this is why we have a horizontal line, right? Okay. Now, vertical lines are lines that go up and down, right? Okay, so if I were to say, okay, let's graph the line x equals negative 1. So if I were to go right here and put that point there, and I would ask you, what are the coordinates of that point? We would say, well, negative 1 and 0. Now, suppose I were to move up, say, I don't know, 4 spaces. And I'd ask you, what are the coordinates at that point? We would say negative 1 and 4. If we would have gone down 3 spaces, we would have said the coordinates at that point would have been negative 1, negative 3. But if you notice, in every case, the x number is negative 1. And that's why we have vertical lines that look like that, okay? Because all it told me was x equals negative 1. Didn't tell me anything about the y. That's why I knew I could move up or I could move down, because it didn't tell me that I couldn't, right? All right. So again, a lot of this should be somewhat familiar material in the sense that this is like Math 100, college algebra type stuff. You would have seen this before. All right, it says the slope of a line passing through the points x1 and y1 and x2 and y2 is given by our slope formula, okay? So just like I tell all my students, guys, the little x1 and y1, the little x2, y2 doesn't mean I'm going to be writing down the number 1 or the number 2. It just means I'm putting the 1s because it's my first point, or I'm putting the 2s because it's my second point, okay? And there's my formula right there. So the directions for this problem say find the slope of the line through those points, and then we're going to graph the line, okay? So let's think about this. Because this is my first point, that'll be my x1 and my y1, and because that's my second point, that'll be my x2 and my y2. So all I'm going to do now is just copy down my formula, okay? And I'm going to start plugging in. So look, the first number is y2. y2 is the number -1, minus, because there's a minus in the formula. y1, which is the number 3. x2 is the number 4, minus x1, which is the number -2. Okay. -1 minus 3 would give me a -4. Remember, minus and minus become plus, so that'll be a 6. So the slope of my line, if I reduce this fraction, divide them both by 2, would be a -2/3, right? Okay, so we found our slope. Now we're going to graph the line and see if we can figure some things out here. So the point -2/3 would mean go to the left 2, and then up 3. And the point 4, -1 would be go to the right 4, and then down 1, right? And I'm going to try to draw this as straight as I can. That looks pretty good, actually. Okay. So right there and right there. Now, a lot of times what we call the slope, you may have heard this before, we call it the rise over the run. Sometimes we say the fall. Okay. Reason I'm putting the fall is I want you to look at my top number. My top number is a -2. So what I'm going to do is from my first point that we had here, I'm going to fall 2 spaces down, and then I'm going to run over to the right. So look, I'm going to fall 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Look, we find another point on the line. Can do it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, right? So what this is telling me is I'm going to go down 2 to the right 3. Down 2 to the right 3. And every time I do that, I'm going to end up with another point on my line. So I want you to notice something. When I read my line, just like I read a sentence, I go from the left to the right. If you look at this red line, that line is going downward. It's going downward, and if you notice our slope is negative, okay? So a line that goes down is going to have a negative slope, okay? So let me scroll here, okay? Same type of problem. First thing it wants me to do, find the slope of the line. So I'm going to write down the formula that we just used, okay? Remember, this is my x1 and my y1, I'm sorry, and this is my x2 and my y2. Okay. So let's plug and chug. Let's see, y2 is the number 5. 5 minus y1, which is 1. x2 is 3, minus -2. So let's see, 5 minus 1 is 4. Minus and minus become plus, so I get 4/5. Okay, let's go ahead and plot those points. -2, 1 means go to the left 2 and up 1. There it is. 3, 5 means move to the right 3 and up all the way to 5. Okay. There we go. Okay. Now, look at our slope. 4/5, right? Remember we call the slope the rise over the run. From this point here, I'm going to go up 4 spaces. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So up 4 and to the right 5. Okay, what kind of slope did we have here? If I look at this line, look at this green line. If I go from the left to the right, I would say that that line is going up. So when this line is going up, our slope is going to be positive, right? All right. So for these couple of problems, we just want to find the slope. We don't need to do any graphing. The reason I did the graphing is so that we'd have a visual to it. But for these here, I'm just going to use my slope formula, okay? So my slope formula is right here. y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1, right? Okay. So remember, this is my x1 and y1, and that's my x2 and y2, right? So y2 is negative 1 minus negative 1, negative 7 minus 5. Okay, remember, minus and minus become plus, so negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Minus 7 minus 5 is a minus 12, but 0 divided by negative 12 is 0. Okay, so the slope of that line is 0. What do you think? I know we weren't going to do any graphing, but I'm going to just draw you a quick picture because I want you to get an idea of what this looks like. X and Y. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So look, the first point, 5, negative 1. 5, negative 1 is down here. The other one is 7, negative 1 is down here. Look at that line. That's a horizontal line, isn't it? So that line is not going up, so it's not going to be positive. It's not going down, so it's not going to be negative. That's why we got a slope of 0. Okay. Alrighty. Same thing here. M equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Here's my x1 and y1. Here's my x2 and y2. Oops. Rid of that little, oops, right there, y2. Okay. So let's plug and chug. So 7 minus 5 over negative 1 minus negative 1 again. I know that's 2. This is 0. Guys, if y'all remember from college algebra, we can't divide by 0. So when we can't divide by 0, it's undefined. Let's just get a visual on that, okay? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So negative 1 and 5 means negative 1 and up 5 right here. Negative 1 and 7 would be right there. Look at this line. It is a vertical line. Okay. So vertical lines have an undefined slope, and horizontal lines have a slope of, where did it go? There we go. Have a slope of 0, right? Okay. All right. So the next part we're going to talk about how to graph equations using the slope-intercept method. Again, a lot of this here, guys, is like Math 100 material or college algebra material, so I'm hoping that this is more review than anything else, okay? So let's take a look here. We got the slope-intercept equation right here. M stands for my slope. The point 0b is going to be what we call our y-intercept. So it says graph using the slope-intercept method. Okay, I bet you we can do that. So first thing I'm going to do, y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to look at this equation here and say, yep, they're in the same form. So my slope in this case will be negative 4. But because I'm going to think about it as the rise over the run, I'm going to think about it as negative 4 over 1. My 0b in this case will be 0 and negative 1. That's going to be my starting point, okay? My starting point. So let's do this. Let's start at the point 0, negative 1, right there, okay? Since my slope is negative 4 over 1, I got to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to the right 1. And I will now draw my line. Okay. If you look at my line, it's going down, and our slope m was -4/1, right? Right. Let's see if we can do the same thing here. Okay. So first I'm going to do y equals mx plus b. Okay. We're in the right format, so my m here is 1/2. My point 0b is going to be 0 and 3. This again will be my starting point. So let's go to the point 0, 3, which is right there. Okay. Since my slope is 1/2, I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. And there's my line. Remember? Line's going up. M was a positive 1/2. So I'm feeling pretty good about this, right? Right, let's see. Okay, let's try this next one here. First I'm going to do y equals mx plus b. If I look at this equation, it's not in the right form. It's not in this form here. So let me write 2x plus y equals 2. I want to solve this equation for the letter y. So guys, I'm going to take this 2x term. I'm going to bring them over. When I cross the equal sign, this is going to come from a positive to a negative. Okay. So now my m is -2/1, and my y-intercept is 0, 2. Right? This is my starting point. So 0, 2 is going to go right there. Since my slope is a -2/1, down 1, 2, over the right 1, look at my line, it's going down, and again our slope was negative, right? All right, so let's try this next problem here. All right, so this next problem here says, Kevin and Randy have a jar containing 52 coins, all of which are either quarters or nickels. The total value of the coins in the jar is $10.40. How many of each type of coin do they have? Okay, so I'll tell you what, let's do this. We have two different types of coins here, right? So how about if we say X is the number of quarters, Y is the number of nickels, okay? How many coins do we have total? 52. So that means that X plus Y is going to be 52. Okay. So there's my first equation. The second equation will talk about the value of those coins. Okay. Each quarter is worth 25 cents. So I'm going to take 0.25 times however many quarters I have, plus 0.05, because that's the value of a nickel, times however many nickels I have, and that should give me $10.40. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to solve this equation here. Let's just say we'll solve it for y. So if I solve it for y, I'm going to move that x over. So that's going to be a 52 minus x. And I'm going to write a new equation, okay? I'm going to take this equation here, 0.25x plus 0.05. Now instead of me using the letter y, I'm going to put 52 minus x is equal to 1040. Okay. Guys, we don't need to be nervous about decimals. We're just going to multiply. So let me grab my calculator real quick like here. There we go. And turn it on. I need to take 0.05 times 52. And that's going to give me 2.6 plus 2.6. Now 0.05 times negative x is just going to be a negative 0.05 with an x. It's equal to 1040. Okay. So we can combine those together. 25 cents minus 5 cents would give me 20 cents. I can think about that as $2.60 if I want to, right? So let's get rid of this 260. Okay. Let me grab my calculator again so I can subtract the 1040 minus the 260. So that's $7.80. And then we'll divide by 0.20. Okay, so let me do that. And divide it by 0.20. And x is 39. Okay, so before I go on, look what the question was asking me. How many of each type of coin do they have? Okay, so remember what X stands for, number of quarters. So there are 39 quarters, right? Okay. Now we got to find the number of nickels. Do you remember how many coins they had total? They had 52 total, right? So if I were to take my calculator and say, what's 52 minus 39, right? There's going to be 13 nickels, right? So, little joke for you. What do you call a boy that has no nickels? Nicholas. Quack quacks. Alrighty. I know it's a bad joke, guys, but I heard it when I was in junior high and I never forgot it. Alright, so let's take a look here. It says, find the x and y intercepts of the following equations. Okay, so when we're going to find the intercepts, let's talk about intercepts for a minute, okay? There we go. Let me get my pen going. So the intercepts mean where do we hit the x-axis and where do we hit the y-axis, okay? So if you think about it this way, remember when we had this form, y equals mx plus b? That was always going to give me the y-intercept, okay? So when I look at this equation here, well, I notice, hey, it's already in that form. And the y-intercept always had coordinates of 0 and b, which told me that the x value was always going to be 0. So in this case, the y-intercept would be 0 and 3, okay? Now, if I'm going to find the x-intercept, what I need to do is I need to take this equation, and where I have the letter y, I'm going to set it equal to 0. Negative 3/4 x plus 3. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to move this 3 over here. It's going to become a negative 3 equals negative 3 over 4 with an x. Okay. And let's see. I can think of this as being over 1. If I want to get rid of my fraction, I can multiply everything by 4. And that'll give me, negative 12 equals negative 12 over 4 with an x, okay, which will be negative 12 equals, this reduces to negative 3 with an x, divide by negative 3, and we get x equals 4. So my x-intercept would be 4, 0, and my y-intercept would be 0 and 3. Okay. So look at the next one here. It says y equals negative 3. Now remember what y equals negative 3 looks like? 1, 2, 3. Y equals negative 3 looks like that. Where does it hit the y-axis? At 0, negative 3. Now the next question is, does it ever hit the x-axis? I'm sorry, does it ever hit the x-axis? Does it ever hit this line here? No. So there's no x-intercept, okay? And so the next one here, y equals 15x minus 30, again, this is already in our y equals mx plus b format. So my y-intercept will be the point 0, negative 30. To find my x-intercept, I'm just going to set it equal to 0 and solve for y. Just like we did before, that's now going to become a positive 30 equals 15x. So if I divide both sides by 15, I get x equals 2. And so my x-intercept would be 2, 0. Okay. Alrighty. So we're almost done here, guys. We're almost done with 8.4. Look what we're doing now. We're looking for the equation of the line, okay? So think about this for a minute. We're going to find y equals mx plus b, okay? When we're looking for y equals mx plus b, I want you to remember that the point 0b is going to be my y-intercept, right? So look, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I know my y-intercept is 0, 4. Okay. The next thing I would say is this line going up or is it going down? It looks like it's going down. So let's find our slope. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Since it's coming down, my slope is going to be negative 3 over 2. And now all I'm going to do is take this guy and plug him in right here, and take the guy and plug it in right there. So we'd end up with y equals negative 3 over 2 with an x plus 4. Okay. Can do the same thing here with this next one. Y equals mx plus b. Right? Okay. So my b right there looks like it's a point 0, negative 1. Okay. My line is going up, so I'm going to find my slope. 1, 2, 1. So my m is 2 over 1. It's really the same thing as 2. Okay. And now I'm going to write out my equation. I'm going to put this number in right here. I'm going to put that negative 1 over right there. So y equals 2x minus 1, right? Aha! So the last two problems I got here, let's see. This line looks like it is a horizontal line. Remember, horizontal lines are always in the form y equals. That's negative 1. That's got to be negative 2. Okay. This is a vertical line. Remember, vertical lines are always in the form x equals. 1, 2, 3. This looks like it's at 4. So we got x equals 4. Okay. And that was 8.4.